Dear editors who ended a relationship with their best friend, what was your breaking point? She helped my ex break into my email to prove I was cheating on him. Spoiler alert, I wasn't. How that is so sad. Whether we spoke or hung out was fully dependent on me initiating it. So when I decided to step back, we stopped talking. For some context, by the time we stopped talking, it was the end of high school and we had both become completely different from each other. So this wasn't sudden. I think I tried to hang on to the friendship simply because it was the longest one I had, which unfortunately wasn't reciprocated. He ran off with my GF after swearing for weeks that he would never do such a thing. The best part was that I was best man at his wedding and he was married at the time. Honestly, looking back on it, I'm glad it happened. I got to kick two pieces of shit out of my life on the same day. I met my wife 2 years later, and I've never been happier. Ditching me for a better something for the 100th time, while I waited outside a concert with his ticket. He married a woman whose upbringing had resulted in her being repulsed by physical contact and sex in general. To try to fill the void in his life, he made a pass at my wife. I have not talked to him since she told me what he did. He had a friend that stole from me, defended the friend instead of backing me. At that point you might as well have carried the other side when he stole it. When my wife ran off with him, the best revenge is to let him have her. He promised me he would pay my rent with our business profits while I went out of town, but instead bought a truck with our money and told my landlord that I had the money but refused to pay. My family ended up homeless. Well, when he started constantly bullying me, I took the hint. They became a meth addict and blamed everyone else for their problems. I tried everything I could to help them for over a year. I ruined a lot of my own life trying to be there for them. It was a hard lesson to learn that sometimes the people that you really love and care about are beyond help. It hurts to remember the person that she used to be and admit to myself that the person I knew is gone. We dated a few times and it just never worked out. It was hard to go back to being friends after that. I had a suicide attempt and they both wanted nothing to do with me once I stopped being fun. He and I lived on opposite sides of the country. I had been thinking of moving to Phoenix at the time, since I knew people there, but I didn't care for the heat. He told me I should move in with him in Alabama and I could crash on his couch until we got a bigger place. Fast forward 6 months. 2 weeks away from moving 3,000 miles. And I finally put my notice in at work. I get home and tell him on Discord and he asks me where I'm going to be living. I said with him, since that was the plan. He then tells me I can no longer crash on his couch because he can't bring girls over when a random guy's living on his sofa. I was livid. I knew I couldn't find a place in 2 weeks when I wasn't even there yet, but I tried. I did eventually move to Alabama and he and I plus 2 others got a big house. It was a mistake. He's hands down the worst person I could ever call a friend. He uses people. He'll make plans with you and ditch you. He'll tell you whatever you want to hear. I tried talking to him about some personal issues and he would treat it as some sort of competition of who has it worse. We moved away from each other, but now we are living together because he needed a place to go after getting kicked out of where he was. He tells people that me and my other roommate were hurting financially and that's why he lives with us. Took me a while to confront the fact that we are not friends. First time I cried over losing a friend in my life. In hindsight it's good riddance. I might have to live with him now, but I ignore him for the most part. Makes it a lot easier. I got sober and turned my life around. She wanted to stay in the same spot on her couch, pretend her issues didn't exist, and make someone else responsible for her sobriety. She was firmly entrenched in the belief she was a victim and couldn't comprehend being in charge of her own life. It got to the point I was having anxiety before I went to hang out with her and I couldn't take it anymore. She had a tendency of being selfish while making me feel guilty that I was a selfish one. After spending my wedding day focused on her drama, I kept her at arm's length. When the birth of my first child was also overshadowed by her drama, I cut her loose. Gaslighting is terrible. I still worry him being too self-centered. Was using my house as a staging/excuse point so he could duck around on his wife, who was also a friend of mine. I was best man in their wedding. Ghost edit. I've mentioned this before, and it strangely needed clarifying that none of this came to light until after the fact. We both moved away to college and didn't keep in check. Haven't seen her in 3 years. Not sure she'd recognize me. Gay best friend in high school. I came out to him as bi. He said no, you're not. You're gay or you're straight. You have to choose. I waited to see how long it would take for him to text me first. When it happens, I'll let you know. Wouldn't come to my wedding, even though he introduced my wife and I. Tried to explain to him there was nothing I wanted more other than for him to be there. His girlfriend at the time didn't want to go because she was insecure with her appearance. We haven't seen each other since. My wife and I will be celebrating our 33rd anniversary soon. Stole $400 from me when he found out the girl he liked actually liked me. We were in our mid-20s. High school never ends. Finally came out as bisexual and he decided that meant I was trying to duck both him and his wife. It feels terrible looking back, because it's obviously now that he had some kind of undiagnosed mental issue or chemical imbalance. But at the time it was just a series of unhinged and destructive acts from him that caused our whole friend group to pull back from him. I was closest to him, and I was the last holdout, but I eventually just stopped answering his calls as well. The first major incident was at a party where I asked him to limit himself because he had shown himself in the past to have issues with control, and we didn't know anyone there. He destroyed an entire shelf of pint glasses and puked in their shower less than 30 minutes after arriving. Second incident, he came over with me to hang out with some people I had really only known for a few days. He got really just too high and locked himself in their bathroom and took a shower before passing out on the floor. After falling asleep on a girl's couch we barely knew after a late night D&D game. The girl woke up to find him in her room just watching her sleep. He mumbled, "Sorry, I thought you were awake," before leaving hastily, driving some friends up to a nearby ice mountain town. He started raving about death and the great mystery while driving wildly too fast around steep corners. My friends told me he was all over the road and they were close to dying multiple times. It just kept going on and on. When I realized her childhood/family was too dysfunctional and she was taking her anger/frustration out on me since mine was not, she was always belittling me and talking over me, and I just realized it wasn't worth it. She was funny and we liked the same things, but if I spent more than 2 hours with her, I came home feeling worn down. They became extremely egotistical and cocky. I told them so and called them out. They got pissed at me and said I was just jealous of how cool they were. This was year 6. Glad I got rid of him. She sexually assaulted me a few times while I was drunk. I found this out a few months after, and I was just ducking, sick of the humiliation she caused me, so I ditched her. Walked in on him ducking my wife. 25 years of friendship down the toilet for some pussy. They broke my Lego Death Star. That is unforgivable. My childhood best friend was always ditching me at the last minute for any better opportunity that came up. Babysitting jobs, sleepovers with more popular girls at school, etc. She literally told me to my face, "We can always make plans another time." Well, excuse me for thinking that my best friend would actually want to honor her commitments to me. Enough was enough when she called me during the evening on a day she was absent from school, demanding to know why I hadn't called her to see if she was okay. I had broken up with my boyfriend that day, but she didn't give a shit. She just assumed I would always be there for her when she wanted me, but she'd kick me to the curb when I wasn't any use to her. The sad thing is that I wanted to always be there for her when things were good. She was an amazing friend, and we had so many great times together. I still think back and wonder if ending our friendship was the right thing to do. But she didn't treat me right and I finally had to leave. I have never had the same BFF/sister level friendship with anyone else. But I no longer invest my loyalty where I know I won't get it back. Edit, a word. Wasn't a bad guy, but I eventually realized I couldn't have someone in my life that compared our friendship to ones I had with others. She turned out to be a pathological liar. Lied about having an abortion. Made it out to be my fault. Lied about the D-list celebrity she was dating. Getting into Harvard. Made a mutual friend believe I cock-blocked her. Not only did I cut her off, but had to cut off our mutual friend because she continued to try to fix her. Completely lying about everything. He was my best man. And then a year later he's lying about absolutely everything. Just got sick of it and stopped talking to him. Then he acts all weird like him ditching my girlfriend. Really odd. Hey, thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe.